One day I'm gonna be everything I wanna be. I don't let it get the most of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be everything I'm gonna be. My future right in front of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be free. Then let me be free. One day I'm gonna be free. Mentally and physically, emotionally and spiritually. Yeah. One day I'm gonna be free. I'm standing at the crossroads. I'm feeling like a lost soul. Don't know where I wanna go, but all I know is I wanna be free. They're telling me to let it be, but that just ain't in me, no. Jealousy and envy, but all I see is I wanna be free. See everything I wanna be, exactly what I'm gonna be. Don't let it get the most of me. Eventually, I'm gonna be free. See everything I wanna be, exactly what I'm gonna be. Yeah. One day I'm gonna be free. I'm gonna be free. Let me be free. One day I'm gonna be free. Mentally and physically, emotionally and spiritually. Yeah. One day I'm gonna be free. I told them take their aim off me. Stop trying to get a name off me. If they would just let me be, I'm gonna be free. I told them take some chains off me and throw away the locks and keys. If they would just let me be, eventually I'm gonna be free. Free.
They're back.
What up, though? 7 days, we're back again for another episode of Dominant Effect. I'm Archbishop. We got Mike Ball. What's up, everybody? Glad you were able to tune in. We got a pretty good story for you tonight. A lot of this stuff, of course, everybody knows. Everybody's been tuning in, trying to figure out all the details. Some of us got loved ones that's out there. And so we're going to bring it up. But before we get started, hit that like button. That way we can get this out on the proper algorithm. People can come on and actually be able to watch this show. Those of you that's on Facebook watching live, what's up to you? Those of you that's on Mike's Balls channel or on Dominant Effect channel, what's up to you guys as well? So we're gonna start this off with basically here's what we know right now. Over the last few days, the U.S. and Israel launched a major strike campaign against Iran, the leadership, and key military programs, including ballistic missiles and nuclear-related targets. Iran responded with missiles and drone attacks hitting targets in Israel and across the Gulf. And a lot of the U.S. Agencies, some of the bases as well. The The U.S. agencies, however, are warning that retaliation could expand into cyber attacks, including disruption attacks and what was it, hack active activity, which we talked about that a lot over the past months. Some of these other shows we've talked about. And now the real question becomes, is this a short, contained campaign, or is it opening up a phase for something much bigger than this? So tonight we're going to walk through what happened, what's happening right now, why President Trump said that he did it, what's Israel's role in it, because it's always a role, and who could take charge inside Iran, and what retaliation could possibly look like if there is one. From missiles to cyber, critical infrastructure, we're going to try to go into it and try to cover a lot of the stuff that's going on right now. So with the strikes, we'll go with that first. So multiple outlets reporting that a U.S. joint Israeli strike campaign targeting Iran's leadership and nuclear infrastructure, also along with their ballistic capabilities. Reporting also indicates that the campaign included high-level leadership targeting, which reports say that their supreme leader was also unalived. But this is reported. Some news agents over in the Middle East saying that that's not true, but it's actually been clarified that yes, he was in that building when that strike took place.
Right.
So Iran launched missile and drone retaliation against Israel and a lot of the Gulf states, and targeted a lot of U.S. access, and was also part of trying to shut down the Strait of Hormuz. A lot of these monitoring groups has assessed this pattern as though Iran has launched have sometimes come smaller, sometimes even worse, but we're being the capabilities that they had and being able to try to tie off the strait was also causing a lot of problems as well. As we see when you go to the gas station right now, you notice everybody's gas has spiked up a little bit.
Yep.
And it's probably going to end up increasing.
Yep. Anytime we have conflict like this, you usually are going to see that, especially in the Middle East.
Oh yeah. Every time that there's a conflict, the gas is the first thing that goes up.
That is the very first. That and then your stock markets.
Right. So you have the DHS intelligence assessment warns that the Iranians and their proxies could try to pursue some type of retaliation, including low-level cyber attacks, targeting threats, especially in response to the leadership casualties, which they end up losing. I think it was 19 that they ended up losing, along with the supreme leader.
Yeah, there's a lot of government officials, but yes, that is like the top-ranking people. Yes.
Right. A major private sector has also been flagged, elevating risks that could go with dealing with critical infrastructure here in the U.S., dealing with power grids and water treatment plants.
I mean, it's a lot of old technology too that I'm sure can be penetrated through even online.
Oh yeah, they've been. That's one of the things that has been hacked for the past few years that they've been trying to get into, and it's usually the top three that's trying to do the hacking, and it's usually either Russian, Chinese, or Iranian. That's been the top three that's been always trying to hack into a lot of these critical infrastructures, right, that we got going on. So I know, Mike, I know you did a story about this earlier. We was talking about some stuff that you had actually been looking at. So
Right.
just kind of filling me in on some of the stuff that you actually seen, and then we'll just keep
Yeah.
it flowing.
So something interesting on their Navy side. So we have so far, as of this morning, have sunk over 20 of their Navy, vessels. And so originally, I heard the original number as 9 vessels that we took out, their naval forces. Well, that number was updated 24 hours later, and now we're at 20 plus now. One thing that is to notice is the length that Trump and the Pentagon is talking about how long this is going to last, anywhere from 4 to 5 weeks or whatever. I have a keen feeling. This is not something I know for fact. It's just a keen feeling that is speculation of how long I believe that the United States looks and says how long until they run out of their missiles, essentially, because that's really their real fight. They don't have a real Air Force like that. Their defense is their offense, kind of the same thing, I mean, they're the number one ballistic missiles program in the entire world, hypersonic, all of that. And their drone production, the Shahed drones and all of that, those are drones that Putin buys up there in Russia to use between Russia and Ukraine. So there's a lot of interesting developments on this. I believe that the length that is predicted as of right now is just until they essentially run out of everything they've got.
True. Well, that's what they say.
That's what they say. I don't know that to be fact. I'm just saying. Yeah.
So you remember back a while ago, we were talking about Iran. It's been a little while ago when we was talking about it, and we showed the video of where they had a lot of their bases were underground, and it was showing where they were bringing in the planes, and they were storing all those planes underground. They had like
that underground.
Yeah, you remember that? So we were now with this that's going on now. Now, they said that they were a lot of the missiles and stuff that they were sending off right now were a lot of their old stuff that they were
right.
putting out early.
They're kind of doing we'll go ahead and shoot off our cheaper kind of stuff and then hold off until we got, at the very end, we've got the best of the best here ready to go for the last bang out, right? And that's typical what Iran in their historic, how they fight. They always send out the cheap shit first, and then all the big stuff is saved for the very end.
Right. Now, they can kind of go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say I had to shout this out. Give a big shout to Sterling Will. Thank you for the 5 gifted memberships, bro. That goes a long fucking way, dude. Thank you very much for your contribution. Just needed to shout that out real quick.
Their Air Force, they got anywhere between 330 350 aircraft. So they have like F4, F5s, and F-14s. That was I just remember that because of the story that we had done previous. Now, but what we're looking at though is, and I think there's a lot of debate right now dealing with what's going on, simply because you have some that's actually for what's going on.
Yep.
And then you have a lot of people that's actually against it.
100%.
And the reason why a lot of them are really against it is simply because they're saying, like, this isn't our fight. This don't have anything to do with us. Why are we getting involved with that? Why are we sending our kids over there to risk their life for fighting for something that didn't have anything to do with
It's not
us?
even our fight. It's their fight. Right.
Mm-hmm. So when they asked President Trump why he did it, of course, he described the goals along the lines of dismantling Iran's missile capability, neutralizing naval threats, stopping a nuclear weapon from development, and support for Israel.
Right.
And the reporting also described the decision context as influenced by doubt around the nuclear talks and escalating concerns, which if you remember, we had a nuclear deal
That
back when
Trump pulled
Obama
us.
did it. Then Trump
That
pulled it
Trump
out.
pulled us out. Right.
Then we tried to do another one last year, which resulted into a bombing of a nuclear facility, which they thought they did anyway. They blasting through a mountain to try to get to it, and then now
14 of them, 14
right,
bunker busters to make that happen. Yeah.
right. And then we going back again for some more talks, and from some of the other recordings that I have listened to throughout the week, they had said that Iran had actually agreed to a lot of the terms that they were asking for. Some of them they just said no to, but it was
Right.
a lot of them that they actually said that they were in favor of doing.
Well, those demands also came from Israel, and so basically Trump is mimicking whatever Israel's demands are. And truthfully, the demands, objectively speaking, everyone knows my position, but objectively speaking, it leaves Iran with nothing. No missiles, essentially, no production, what the demands were, dismantling every bit of their nuclear, facilities and having it inspected that it's been demolished. There was many demands that were happening there that were going to leave them 100% defenseless. And listen, that's not the way that Iran likes to play the game, And so this was a definite forced, essentially, war because they knew no side is going to agree to this, and this is what's going to come out of it. And of course, Iran's going to do everything they can to be in the fight as long as they possibly can and go out righteously, I guess. That's what they do for their God or whatever. But yeah, it's next level shit for sure.
But it's kind of like
it's a bad deal for Iran though. No matter what.
Well, it's kind of at a point that you really don't have a choice for real.
You don't.
Because okay, so let's take this for example. It's just an example. So what you just said this was more Israel's thing of saying
yes, it is their fight,
and then the U.S. basically backed it up like, okay, we're gonna back up this deal. Now, Israel has been saying ever since 2002 that they wanted to neutralize Iran. This was back when we had back when they had a actual talk with Netanyahu, but back then when they was asking who was an actual threat at that point in time, and he said Iran, and he's been talking about Iran for well over 24 years.
And you know who else has too? Donald Trump's been talking about Iran and taking away their nuclear power, capabilities and all that since the 80s. There's videos of Trump talking about how Iran is this, that, the other, that they need to be neutralized. That was back in the 80s,
well, he kind of
82 or some shit.
Now he did, but he kind of went both ways with it because
he kind of did. You're right about that.
That he was saying that too, and then when they turned around, when later on he was talking about how it would be so messed up to mess with them, that it was like
Well, maybe he was catering to who he was talking to at the time. You know what I mean? Some people don't cater to that to people. They just say it like it is. Maybe at that time of his life, he wasn't doing that.
Yeah, ain't that what politicians do though?
Listen, I have learned
they cater to whoever they talking to.
Listen, I watch that shit all day fucking long, man. I watch it all day long in that whole political realm. Absolutely, on a local level.
But even with that, okay, so what do you actually do? Okay, so you got bombed last year. You started bombing them again now. They wasn't the ones who shot first, which they haven't shot first.
No. But Trump came out and said, they didn't shoot first, we did, but I knew that they were about to shoot. That's what he was saying. Like, they were about to shoot, and I had a gut feeling that they were going to shoot. So now we went, So that's how that happened, yeah.
Yeah, I get that, but but still, that's bullshit. Like, I got a feeling that you're going to do something, so I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway before you do it.
Yeah.
But when you go back and you look at the past 50 years, how many times have Iran made threats? Multiple times. And how many
Iran
times
always makes threats.
Right. And how many times have they actually shot first and did anything? None.
Yeah, it's pretty
I
fucking
mean,
rare.
it's a lot of talk. Basically, yeah, it's a lot of talk. Now,
Well,
do
they like to
have
work off of proxies, actually. That's really how they really work. Iran
right?
works way better with like Hezbollah, the Houthis in Yemen. Having that axis of resistance, that was their influence. Not really the internal shit. It was kind of external.
Right, right. So it was a whole lot of proxy. I
Yeah.
mean, so they furnished the weapons to a lot of these other ones, and they ran around and they did what they did, and then they sat back and watched, just like how we did with Ukraine. We didn't go in, but we sat back and we supplied stuff to them to let them keep the fight going, and then we had our hand. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Even though it has been put out there that there are actual U.S. service members flying those jets over there, that has came out, but that we're not supposed to be involved in. Like I said, another thing that we sticking something into that we shouldn't even be actually quote quote involved in. But here's my question to you: why do you feel that every time that, because it seems like what's been going on here lately is that every time that Israel says that they have an issue with something, then we automatically jumping in to be like the big brother to them, like, oh, we ain't gonna let nobody touch you, so we're gonna jump in and help you.
Yep.
When you have all the other NATO countries is basically backing out, like, no, we ain't trying to get involved in this, but we always get involved in it. Why do you think
We
that
always
is?
do. The power and influence money that comes out of Tel Aviv in particular is essentially what is being catered to. you know. Also, not only that, but think of it from like an organizational standpoint. Your big brother, or whatever the case is, or brother organization, whatever you're sticking to that and that only. And to an extent, I can kind of respect it, but at the same token, you have to objectively be able to see, like, okay, this is some fucked up shit, and stop doing it or stop participating or whatever the case is. Now, as everyone knows here, I'm America only ideology in the aspect of anything that happens to outside of the United States and inside needs to directly benefit American citizens, not politicians, citizens first. That's the way. Now, I look at this war and I go, well, how is this actually benefiting the citizen, right? That's what I look at is like, okay, well, how are we actually benefiting from this? Because let's just say, I mean, truth be told, Iran's not actually a threat to us here halfway across the world. They can't even reach us. Like I said earlier, there's only 5 different countries in the world that can even hit everywhere on the planet. So, and they're not one of them. Even Israel's not one of them. So these guys can only hit within the region. So theoretically, the only things that is at risk for us out there is our bases out there. That's essentially really it.
Right. Now, so a lot of the talk now that you hear there, when you're talking about Israel, then they're saying that, you can, why come every time that they say something that we're the first ones to jump up and do it?
Right.
And why is, basically like they say jumping, we jumping. But there has been several instances that went on throughout history that that they came to us wanting us to do something, and we basically told them no, we ain't get involved in it. For example, you have like the like in '56 when you had the Suez Crisis.
Yep.
That's back with Dwight Eisenhower. He said no, we ain't getting involved in that. In '82, dealing with Lebanon, they backed out of it. You had the in '91, you had the loan guarantee dispute. You had the back in from '09 to '16, when Obama was in, they had the whole settlement expansion thing in Gaza. Nope, we ain't getting involved in that. 23, 24, you had the weapons shipments pauses. They were like, no, we ain't getting involved in that. So there's a few more that that they did. But it's like now it's more of a like an automatic. So like anything that Israel does, they know that the U.S. is going to follow. It's kind of like you,
no matter what. Right.
right? So you remember back in the day when they had like the old Tom and Jerry cartoons. You ever watch Tom and Jerry?
Big time. I love watching Boomerang, by the way. So
you had the big bulldog Butch,
yep.
and then he had the little one, like the little pup that was always with him. And the little pup would always get into some shit.
The big
right.
buff. Yeah.
So the little one would always get into some shit because he knew that once you grabbed him,
big homie's coming.
Butch.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
here comes Spike or here come Butch, and they gonna come in.
They're gonna handle it no matter
right,
what.
and save him.
That's the same
That's exactly
thing
what's
happening.
going on here.
Yes, that is the
I mean?
exact same thing.
But you actually costing a lot by doing that. You know what I mean? Because there's some stuff that you just got to sit back and just say, I'm not getting involved in it. You know what 100%. I mean? Now, if this is something that you want to do, you personally want to do for whatever reason that you want to do it, have at it. But we're not going to jump into this. You know what I mean? Now, at one point earlier last year, there was some stuff that came up that the administration did say, we're not going to get involved in that. And, but of course, it's not happening here. Now, they're saying that it's going to be, 3, 4, well, it started out 3 weeks, then they saying 4 to 5 weeks.
Yep.
Now, you said that you thought it was going to be shorter.
I did. I thought, like, they'll be lucky to go, honestly, from here, this standpoint right now, not 3 days ago or whatever. This standpoint right now, if this goes on another week and a half, I'd actually be seriously surprised.
Mm-hmm. I think they're going to go longer than that. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why. Now, right now, you don't have nothing to lose. So you come in, you unalive the supreme leader, you take out 18 others, and the first thing that we're talking about now is that there needed to be a regime change. And you notice every time that we say that, what happens? Because we got a very, very, very bad track record when it comes to regime change. It always ends up in shit.
Well, now, not always. There are some that did well, but that was really on this. It was really on this hemisphere. It wasn't necessarily on there. Now we did it in Germany. Even we did a couple of interesting things. But you're 100% right. You're 100% right at what you're getting at, though. The regime change process is something I really don't agree with. It needs to happen within their own people, and I think that Trump was kind of trying to allow that to happen before he really got himself involved. And then now here's also another thing that I wanted to just make clear. I don't think that Trump is blindlessly following Israel's demands on this war. I think that Trump has a bone to pick with Iran since the 80s. It's evident. I think he's been wanting to see this kind of happen since he was a kid, And so I think it mutually aligns with Israel's interest and Donald Trump's personal interest to do it. That's why I truly think why it's happening the way it is.
Any kind of regime change now, yes, there was protests that was going on over there.
Big time.
And a lot of people end up getting unalive doing those protests.
Well, not only that, but how many tens of thousands of people that were imprisoned for it too. On top of that, not just the number of people that got killed, but how many tens of thousands. By the way, that's the number that was reported.
Yeah, but the point I was making with that was that even with that in mind, and they have protests, whatever,
right?
Still not our business.
It's not. You're right.
I mean, that's no different than we having protests here. We have ICE protests. We didn't have protests against Trump. We didn't have protests against a bunch of different stuff that went on here in the past year. Now, if somebody came over here and was like, okay, well, y'all go ahead and protest, and then we're gonna come in and help you if they do. Come on, man, that don't happen. You know what I mean? And you have to think the same way that we jumping in to places that we should not be jumping in, killing leaders and basically tell them that we're going to do a regime change ain't no different than them coming over here doing the same
No,
thing.
you're 100% right. I just know that Trump was banking on those big protests. I mean, because they try to not say how big it really was. It was humongous protests that was happening all over Iran. It really was. And he was banking that the people would really do a real revolution. And that didn't happen. They kind of controlled the situation, right? And so because of that, it was like, okay, now it's time for us to do this kind of thing because their own people's not going to do it now. But that's why he gave that buffer zone and why we set up for so long and waited shit out. And because he was like, well, I want to see how these guys handle this shit. And they didn't get done what Trump wanted done. So
exactly.
That's what I'm saying.
Thank you. You just I know proved
that.
what you just proved what I was getting ready to say because he didn't want that. But like I said, it's not your business.
It's not.
You know what I mean? And it seems like throughout the years, not just this, but throughout the years, it's kind of been set up the same way. A lot of these regime changes and all that stuff, it all centers around someone who does not like what's going on over here. So anyone that tries to give you, that gives them shit that they don't like, they getting their ass up out of there and they putting somebody else in there that's going to agree to do what they want them to do. I mean, the only one that really hasn't happened to, that they were not able to put hands on right now is North Korea. Because
true
that's the only one that you ain't been able to put hands on, and you probably would have if they didn't have nukes.
Yeah, Kim Jong-un is calling, hey, we cool, right? We're cool, right?
Right. I mean, so he bounced out like he don't give a damn.
Yeah,
like,
that's right.
Come on. But it was only after they got those nukes, because he was hiding for a while. And then once they got that to where they started doing the little mock launches and all that stuff, and you seen that they was over there testing, then they started backing up from it.
The landscape completely changes when everyone knows that you've got a nuke.
Right.
I mean, it just changes the entire landscape, not just for the region, but for the world. You know what I mean? So it is a big deal. Even though they can't, most of these, most of the nuclear countries that are even there can't even reach the rest of the world. So it's dependent on their big fucking rockets as well and stuff like that. So it all coincides with their actual hardware, what they got. But yes, it changes the dynamic of fighting big time when you've got a nuke.
Right. Like I said, it ain't no fun when fun when the cat got the gun.
It's like, hey, listen, I love when I'm in a gun, I'm in a gunfight and this guy shows up with a knife. Perfect. You know what I mean? Perfect. That's great. That's exactly the situation that, on a big landscape of nukes.
I don't think this is going to be as easy as they think it's going to be. And the reason for me saying this is like, this isn't Venezuela where you go in and you pop a couple guns and you shoot a little something and then you be, everybody decided that, okay, we're not going to do anything. We're just going to let it go status quo. You got 90 million Israelis over there. I mean, Iranians.
Yeah, Iranians. Yep.
They ain't about to take that shit.
No,
it's going to go way longer than that. And you're not going to put boots on the ground. You're not going to do it because if you do, that's a death wish. Because if you look at the area that you deal with.
Remember that's not off the table either.
It's not off the table, but just suicide if you did.
I agree with that.
Because of the area that you're dealing with. It's
just like going to Vietnam in their environment. You know what I mean? The exact same thing. You're dealing with a mountainous
area. You're dealing with roads that's usually, like one road that's stretching out through there.
Totally.
It's like you definitely setting yourself up for failure. So you would have to do everything that you're going to do with, air and naval defense, because you don't want to put nobody on that ground, because that's basically a suicide mission, just like I said, just like Vietnam. And you putting somebody in an area that they don't know nothing about, but I know everything about it. You know what I mean? You're gonna be automatically on the defense the whole time. I mean, that's just crazy to do. But I do think that it's going to go longer than what they're expecting. Now, do I think that Pete Hegseth would try to pull away to put boots on the ground? Sure, I do. I think he'd probably try to do it.
Yeah,
But I
well,
don't think it's
they all said it's not off the table.
yeah,
So
right. I just don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be favorable.
no,
There's going to be a lot of casualties there.
I would be like, listen, that's the last thing you guys want to do. You know what I mean? Like keep the air superiority or whatever. Keep all of that, and that's what they got. They've got really 100% of the air at this point.
And then too, how you going to get them there? Because
in what regard?
No, I'm talking about the actual troops. If you put boots on the ground, how you gonna get them there? Because they're gonna have to come. They're gonna have to come from one of the neighboring countries even to get there. You know what I mean? So it's not like you just gonna pull up. Everybody just gonna jump out like V-Day and just jump out and just storm the beach in Normandy. You know what I mean? You're not gonna get that. You know what I mean? And you're not gonna sit there with a and just jump off a shitload of paratroopers and think they're gonna. You know what I mean? You ain't gonna do that either.
Mm-hmm.
So there's there's a lot of tactical issues for putting boots on the ground like that.
Big time.
You know what I mean, and being the fact that we done actually downsized quite a bit from the active duty roster. Hell, you're only looking at what, like 450 to 500,000 active duty right now.
You know what's crazy though?
Downsized.
The honest truth, though, is what we have there staged up right now in the Middle East, including on the Gulf side, and then of course up in the European side on the kind of the west bit, northwest. We're staged up like a motherfucker, and we're ready for longevity. I mean, we've got 2 aircraft carriers in the Gulf that are running, not simultaneously. The way that they work is they look for longevity. And I was actually explaining that earlier this morning on my show, but that they kind of work day and night shift, because things you've got maintenance that you've got to do, shit breaks, all this shit. So when you've got 2 aircraft carriers going, you've got kind of like the day shift that handles the morning till, for the first 12 hours, and then it moves over to the other aircraft carriers so that they can work on their shit, reload ammo, do whatever they got to do, right? So I find it fascinating that the way that they've got it set up right now, the amount of military presence the United States has there right now, without boots on the ground, without having any of the numbers of the reserve and all of that, what we have there right now is enough to decimate that place 20 times fold. So we really do have the advantage on all of that. Yes, they're also going to look at the whole thing is like, yeah, there's Iran that's got 90 million people there, and they're not going to try to kill innocent people. I would assume. I'm not going to say that with fact. I don't know completely what's going on 100% of the time, but I would assume that they're going for, not only governmental officials, but as well as infrastructure and all of that stuff, taking out the little bit of Air Force they have, the little bit of naval force that they've got. They've already sunk 20 Navy ships from the Iranian side, 20 plus, and the Pentagon came out this morning and saying, well, we've done more than 20, sinking of these Navy vessels, and we're going to get every single one of them. Every single one of them. They're all going down. Every last one of them is going down. I was like, oh, shit.
But at what cost?
Oh, it's a humongous cost.
Yeah, because you ain't gonna just bust all them like they say you're going to, and you ain't gonna suffer no casualties. It's going to
right, and even the Pentagon said where we know and are prepared for more casualties to happen on our side.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
They literally said that. And
absolutely.
I'm like,
how they sat on there and talk about that the most glorified thing that you could do was die for your country and all that. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I've heard Lindsey Graham and all of them said that, but that them old fucks ain't done none of that shit. You know what I mean?
Of course. So, that's how that goes every time.
You can say something like that when you ain't the one that's out there doing it.
No, but this is specifically the Pentagon that said it. It wasn't some lawmakers. You know what I mean? It was specifically the Pentagon. And I was like, oh, these motherfuckers are crazy. You know what I mean?
Okay, so what about the was it General Dan Kane, the Joint
Yep.
Chiefs,
That's
that that he actually came out and warned President Trump about the shortages in missile interceptors and the stockpile, saying that they did that based on the fact that they were giving out so many ordnance to these other countries with Ukraine and Israel and all that
I heard
our
all of it.
stockpile was heavily depleted and that
There
we
was a
wouldn't be able to
clarification
do a
on that this
prolonged
morning,
thing.
though. There was a clarification on that whole thing because Kane came out this morning stating, listen, there's the rumor that we're like depleted and we don't have shit, kind of thing. He's like, that's false. We're ready to see this through and we have it. But I'm not going to give you guys a direct number of what we've got inventory. He goes, that's a breach of national security. But yes, I would assume that they're using a lot of resources, but at the same token, I kind of thought that was bullshit too when I heard the reports of like, oh, we're depleting our shit. We've got so much shit on top of shit on top of shit. It's unreal.
Okay,
Our inventory is kind of retarded.
Okay, let me ask you this. So he initially put out, Chairman of Joint Chief, he initially put out that we were depleted. And a couple of days later, he come back and was like, oh, no, we're not depleted.
Right.
So which one was the lie? Because he said both.
Right.
So,
and
so
I would
if he
assume
said-
I would
so was his
assume that
first
it was a
statement-
contextual thing. I would assume.
Was his first statement true and then he recanted on the second statement? Or was he saying, maybe you misunderstood what I said on the first one, but this is actually what I
And
mean.
I don't know how that clarification was made out aside from, no, we don't have a depletion problem. We've got it. So I don't know. I don't know what, I just report what I just see. You know what I mean?
Okay, so with the Supreme Leader being unalive,
Eliminated. Right.
so the power would likely be consolidated through, you have the IRGC power structure, which a lot of them had got taken out.
Yep.
You got a lot of the political hardliners that's basically stuck on the security side of this. And then you have like the senior clerical instructors that those are the three different groups that they could actually pull from to kind of come back in and take over leadership, because historically during these crises, systems like that tilt towards the security figures, it kind of, they say you got kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Reformats itself, basically. So you got some that's going to take a more of a defense posture. You got some that are stronger on towards the retaliation part, just to show strength, and then you have some that just want to be just diplomatic about this and just kind of, let's just end this as quick as we can end this, and kind of count our losses and make a deal and just everything just be what it's going to be. Like I said, I just don't think it's going to go that quick. I just don't feel it's going to go that quick. I think it's going to be prolonged, and we're caught up into something. I think it's going to be prolonged to the point that we're going to get caught up in this for a long period of time. While we're dealing with this over here, then you're going to have something else that's going to pop up somewhere else. It's just like you got the issue with China and Taiwan. Mm-hmm. Now, they just had this little conference not too long ago. We're here about 2 weeks ago, and China basically told the administration, well, I'm not going to deal with you as long as you keep giving Taiwan aid. What they do, they cut the aid to Taiwan. So it's kind of like all the stuff that we have been talking about before, because you remember we did stories on this where they was talking about they were going to defend Taiwan no matter what. Now it's like, yeah, man, I don't know. That was like they said that. I didn't say that. They said
Sure.
that.
Yep.
You know
Yep.
what I mean? So what's to stop while we're over here dealing with this over here, which gives them a perfect opportunity to go and do something somewhere else that we're not at because we're spending all of our forces over here to deal with what's going on over here.
Oh
You know what I
yeah,
mean? Because
for
like I
sure,
said,
big time.
we spend a lot of our time and a lot of our money policing the globe, and we're scattered. You know what I mean? So we said we got to bring forces there where they got 90 million people there. We got to bring stuff there to do something. You know what I mean? And I think that it's going to be a big difference. And I also think that being the fact that, we're over there, we're bombing with missile strikes, drones, whatever we doing over there, we're going to catch something over here. It's not going to be no missile, though. Ain't going to be no missile.
No,
They're going to
it
do
definitely
something
isn't.
over here. There's going to be some type of retaliation that's going to happen here, just simply because you're doing it here, we're going to do it there. Something's going to happen over here, and it probably end up being cyber. Probably end up being something
For sure.
something dealing with cyber, where they're going to hit power grids or water infrastructure, something like that. You know what I mean?
Our AI systems and servers and stuff. Sure.
Right. I mean, they're going to tap into something. It's something
Now-
that's going to be done over here.
Now, this is the way I look at it: is the war itself. This whole thing that we're going through right now, I still believe is going to be cut short from even the time frame that they believe. And the reason why I have that stance is because of their Air Force. They have kind of none. They have a few jets and shit, but they don't have a real Air Force. When the United States knows this, and so they're picking on, a situation, a country that knows that they've got complete superiority over them. We have them on lock. The only thing that they've got is their rockets and their missiles, their hypersonic missile program, their ballistic missile program. All of that is top notch. Their drones that they make, the Shahids or whatever, however you pronounce it, they're great for what they do, but they cannot fight a fight like this. Now, the reason why Iraq was so hard to deal with as well is because if you actually look at the Air Force that they've got compared to Iran, for instance, you'll see the difference. I believe that's why this shit is going to go that quick. Their resources, truly compared to our resources, is second to none. I mean, ours is second to none, so I really don't think that they've got kind of any type of longevity in this.
Okay. Well,
but the after effects though of this whole war is what I was getting at. Is the after effects of all of it though is, yes, is it gonna fuck us over somehow? Absolutely. Somehow, some way, there's gonna be some shit that follows us for the next 30 years or some bullshit. I don't know what it is, but there is gonna be some. You know what I mean? Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, definitely gonna be something. It's not gonna go. I'm just saying, it's not gonna go the way they put it out that it's gonna go.
No,
you know what I mean? Because
that's all narrative spinning propaganda on both sides. Wars have always done that. Wars have always done that. It's all propaganda, all of it. All the jet videos that you see the White House puts out and shit like that, that's all propaganda. All of it, whether it be good or bad, it's irrelevant. It's about propaganda. So real quick, I gotta make a drink. I'll be right back.
Well, you serious? Lord have mercy. So what we got right now is just it's a clear cut. Some say war, some say it's not war, some say it's just a conflict. I think it's a conflict now that could end up being a war. Now, I seen in the comments where somebody said, well, at least if China messes with Taiwan, they're not going to come over and get involved with Iran. That's not necessarily true, because when you think about it, if they close the Strait of Hormuz, So right now, there's no oil pumping through. They've also been having missile strikes in the in the UAE and Saudi Arabia, a lot of those Gulf states targeting oil refineries and shipping ports. So if you completely shut that down and nobody's able to bring or get oil back and forth through there, of course you're going to strike China's attention. You're going to strike Russia's attention, and they're going to be involved with what's going on. Now, you also have to remember that they also have an alliance with Iran. That if anything happened to them, that they were supposed to join in. Now, they haven't joined into anything right now. They've actually been on television talking about wanting to stop what's going on and be able to show some type of diplomacy on it, and not let it result to the point that they will have to jump in. But like I said, if that oil stops flowing, you better believe Russia and China are going to get involved in that. What do you think about that, Mike?
Well, I find the oil trade very, very interesting, including that, well, because I was also involved in oil. I find what's interesting in oil, for instance, not just what's happening with Iran and all of that stuff, or in the Middle East, but for instance, what happened in Venezuela in regards to that oil that essentially is BRICS nations' oil, theoretically, And I find that whole thing fascinating because even Russia was like, we have to accept our loss on that, and they did. They did, which is surprising. So did China and all of them. So they'll find another way to be able to get us later on some bullshit. But they had to take kind of an L in that situation at the moment.
Mm-hmm. I just
But
seen
oil is fascinating though.
Yeah, and they're gonna fight for it. I mean, it's anything dealing over in the Middle East anyway has always been about oil. Now there's been other things that was brought up to be able to use that gave them a reason to go over there to do that. But the end result was oil. That's what they wanted. What they wanted to get their hands on.
It's the black gold, man. It's one of the number one resources in the world, aside from gold and silver.
Mm-hmm. Somebody had put a comment. This one right here. China doesn't want war with the U.S. You got to think about that, because what you got right there is basically a sleeping dragon, and I'm gonna tell you what I mean by that. China's not involved in nothing. Now, they've been aiding with the proxy though. They've been sending weapons and stuff to different places and stuff like that, but they haven't actually been involved with a lot of stuff that's going on. Now, you got Russia that's dealing with Ukraine. They taking massive losses. You have the U.S. that's bouncing around, patrolling everything. Now we're dealing with this in Iran, just like we were dealing with stuff over in Israel and the Gaza Strait and Sudan, and we can keep going on and on and on. So we're out doing all the fighting. They're just sitting in the background watching. So if they did decide to do anything, by the time they actually did it, we would be massively depleted. Even though we may have the greatest military in the world, but you can't fight everybody at the same time. You just can't do it. It's not humanly possible to do that. But like I said, they've been sitting back and watching all the BS that's been going on all this time. Now they say little stuff here and there. They really ain't saying nothing, but they got millions of troops over there. I mean, they got a Navy just as big as ours. It may not have as big as ships as we do, but they do have a Navy that's just as big as ours. They got an Air Force over there. They could actually do it. But if you're dealing with with a country, say like the U.S., that we're spread it out the way we're spread it out, who's to say that you don't pick the right time to actually do that?
Well, yeah, I mean, strategy on the aspect of with the enemies around the rest of the globe, not just where in the Middle East right now. Yeah, we're depleted in the rest of the oceans essentially right now because we really brought a humongous amount of firepower. I mean, again, this is the most amount of military presence that we've had over there in the Middle East since we invaded Iraq in 2003. And by a long shot, by the way, we actually got way more than we had in 2003. So right now it's definitely heavy on that side of the equation, but it does always. I'm sure the Pentagon, this is what they do nonstop, is think about these kind of situations, how they would prepare for if an attack happened over here where we're depleted and we have no access to any of this shit. Yeah, I'm sure they have to think out everything.
Mm-hmm. What do you think would actually happen if something like that would have took place? Let's just say, for instance, that we had, say somebody did hit the power grid.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And it may be not, I'm not saying like a total power grid failure, but I'm talking about even in just different locations.
Sure.
You know what I mean? You could knock out something for a long period of time. By the time that you actually, depending on exactly how you hit it, because there's different ways that you have to go about doing that, whether you're going after actual substations itself or you hitting, like whole grid areas or whatever, because you know how everything is blocked up. So you got
it goes by regions. Yeah. In the United States. And if you
Right.
hit key, which me and you talked about, you actually taught me about it. If you hit a specific key few, you can really take out an entire humongous region of the United States, for instance.
Well, it's broke up into three.
Right. It was three. I couldn't remember if it was 3 or 4, but yeah.
Yeah. It's actually broke up in three. Texas has its own power grid.
Yes.
But the rest of it is broke up in three.
But what's interesting about the power grid and why it's probably so hackable as well, I mean, look at the technology. I mean, late 60s, early 70s is a lot of the power grid structure. It's off of the technology from the 60s and 70s.
Right.
So a lot of it has not been really updated. A lot of it's been kind of like patched as shit goes wrong. They just patch that problem. They really haven't really done like an overhaul and like, hey, let's redo all of our grid here and be more efficient and all this, less being able to have outside entities being able to hack it or whatever.
True. Now, you are right. A lot of the infrastructure on the power grid has been around since the 60s, 70s. Now they have been upgrading as they've been going through, but it's not completely upgraded.
But the base model, the skeleton, is still 60s,
Right.
70s. They
Right.
just added to.
Right. Now, here's the part that they get you though. So they'd be like, okay, so how could they possibly go in and get into this power grid? Now we have cyber people that work for these power stations and all this other stuff that does the exact same thing that keeps people out of it. But where are these components coming from? Who making them? China. That's where they're coming from.
Yep.
So you think anything that you make, I know how to get into. You see what I'm saying? So what's really stopping anybody from being able to do it? It's like, hell, if I made it, I know how to get into it. I know how to.
Yeah, especially if they're writing the software or whatever
Exactly.
to run it, they're the ones that have access to it, of course.
Exactly.
Especially
Exactly.
if you made the program or whatever the case is. Yeah,
Exactly.
You know exactly how that motherfucker works on the coding, on the back end, and all that shit. Like a super geek. Yeah, they know that shit.
Exactly. Just like how when Microsoft got hit, not last year, and they got a couple $1 billion to actually give it back, but they got all the way down to the actual source code.
Right. I heard about that.
So if you were able to get to the source code and take the whole system, who's to say that you didn't put something in that source code when you gave it
To
back
change,
that you could
right.
be able to go back in it if you ever wanted to get back
Because
into it?
you change one little code in there while you were there. Now you've got unlimited access, some weird shit. Yeah, totally.
Exactly. So,
Well,
you know,
this looks like on the landscape. Let me just ask you a question. Do you think that the way that I always have envisioned all of this since we've started the show, is that our government and everything truly is standing of cards, house of cards. It is one little tiny thing to be able to blow the whole fucking thing down, kind of thing. And I'm talking about on many different levels, not military, actually, not even on that kind of level, but everything else level, we really are a house of cards on many aspects.
what was your question?
Well, does that
Think it was
sound
a house of
correct?
cards?
Yeah, it sounds like the government and our structure, our infrastructure, all of that is kind of like a house of cards, because we're
Yeah, absolutely.
focusing on just fixing the problem today instead of like doing big infrastructure rehaul and going, hey, let's get ahead of this shit, kind of like what China does on that aspect. Let's get rid of all this shit. I know it's going to cost us a lot of money, but we're going to fucking do it and be ahead of everybody, and no one can ever hack us. We've got the most efficient grid on the planet. Like it's taking only a quarter of the power to be able to power everything else because they upgraded everything. We haven't done any of that.
So, let me answer that. Number one, yes, it is a house of cards, and I'm gonna tell you why. First thing is that dealing with let's just talk about the power grid. And the reason why I can talk about that is because I used to work for the power company for years. Now,
I didn't know that, AB. That's cool.
yeah, yeah, I was a supervisor for a power company for years.
Damn. All right. Shit.
Kind of like the jack of all trades, man. I done did a
You
lot of
have
stuff.
done some
Yeah, I
pretty
done done a
awesome
lot of-
trades too.
Yeah, I done a lot of stuff. But one thing that you realize by doing that, like number one, it is a lot of old infrastructure, stuff like that. But then a lot of the newer stuff that they put in to replace the older stuff and take it out, a lot of those key components is coming from China. They're the ones that's manufacturing it, because you shut down a lot of manufacturing here and you shipped it over there because it was cheaper and you didn't have to pay so much, and you saving money. Now, the government is known for well over 30 years that the power grid was where it was. You know what I mean? That it needed a serious overhaul. But they didn't drop the money into it. They put money into everything else. You know what I mean? It was like, oh, we ain't worried about that. You know what I mean? We can deal with that later. And then each individual power company were trying to strengthen their grid, their part of the grid, based on the profits that they were picking up every year. So they had companies like the company that I work for. We would go and we went through and like actually inspected every pole, every line, every transformer, every regular.
Hell
I mean,
nah.
we did everything. Put it all in GPS where you can pull it up and you see where everything is. Anything need to be replaced, fixed, whatever, we would replace it. And then as new components came in, we would go and switch it out.
That sounds pretty efficient.
Yeah. So, but that was based on, that wasn't government funded.
Right.
That was
It was coming from China.
that was coming from, no, I'm saying like each individual power company himself.
Oh, they were
based on what they were doing. So like,
I understand. It's kind of like the internet companies, how they monopolize shit.
Well, you think about how they do it. So let's just take Florida, for instance. So you have Florida Power and Light. Then you have Tico on this side. You got Duke Power over here, and then you have other individual power stations within there that has like their own co-op.
Sure.
So they produce their own electricity. So say like the town, like the city that I live in, they have their own co-op. That city produces its own electricity that's not affiliated with Florida Power and Light and Tico on this end, right? So each of them have to maintain their part of the power structure, right? So you got this company here, they're working on trying to work on their end. You got this company here, they're working on their end. The problem is that the components and a lot of the material that you're using is coming from China. A lot of the electronic components is coming from China. So that's what all the coding and all that stuff is all about. So can you actually go in there and hit that power grid? Absolutely. And now if you hit that power grid and you hit water treatment in the power grid, you're gonna have major problems. So
Well, water treatment for sure on a level of, I mean, shit. If you hit the water treatment level, I mean, you can spread disease across a nation.
absolutely.
Sanitary is a humongous thing that people here in the United States take for granted. I mean, I'm not saying a lot, but there are many countries out there that don't even have sewer or waste management or water management, none of that.
Even if you took out, say you just hit the grid. If you hit the grid, you're gonna automatically hit the water treatment because it all runs on power. Now the water treatment plants have like the generators and all that stuff, but they only run for so long, and then they shot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you're not keeping fuel in those generators to keep them running, you're gonna lose power. But if you tap that power grid and that power grid goes down, you're basically in the Stone Age until it comes back up, whenever it can come back up.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I look at all of it as we've got, I mean, we're strong on a international standpoint, but on the internet or national standpoint now, looking at it, we have kind of weak skeletons in certain aspects. We focus so much on an international level that we're not thinking so much like at home first.
Right, and a lot of them aren't thinking about home first. Is one of the things that we talk about all the time. Is because it's never happened here.
Right.
As long as it hasn't happened here, then people are like, oh man, that's going on over here. That ain't nothing that's going to happen over here. You know what I mean? But there's going to come a point in time that changes. I mean, we're not always going to be over here safe, and everybody else getting their land tore up and their buildings blew up and everything else. There's going to come a time it's going to hit home. It's going to happen
Big time.
now. And like I said, being the fact of what's going on right now, it's not going to be any kind of missiles coming over here. Now, do they have sales here? Yeah, they got sales here. You had the FBI director that said this years ago.
Yep.
That there were sales here. So
Big time.
So expect there's going to be some isolated attacks here and there. There's going to be some cyber threats.
We just saw what happened in Dallas, Texas. Actually, we just saw it. Just a couple of days or yesterday or whatever. But yeah.
Right. There's going to be some stuff going on. So not only are you watching that, you're going to watch the people around you, watch what's going on. You know what I mean? Because this is a key thing. This is something that's definitely going to happen. It's not going to just go. It's not going to just go away. There's going to be a problem before it actually does.
I agree.
But so we pushed it to 108. So we're gonna drop it down for the evening. I appreciate everybody that was on, was able to watch. Like I said, hit that like button, like, follow, share, subscribe. We're gonna keep our ear to the wall and see what all we can pull out for this. Hopefully, now I hope and pray for the sake of the men and women that's out there supporting and defending this nation. I hope that you're right, and it does only last for another week. And
me too. I mean, I know I could easily be wrong, but I really hope for our people, because honestly, I don't think that we should be in this shit at all. But nonetheless, I would hope that this ends immediately. You know what I mean? So that we save American lives. But yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There was a captain that was one of the casualties. That he's actually from here, from where I live.
Oh wow, wow.
I haven't got all the information about it, but this was in conversation that I was in earlier today. But the last thing that we want to do is be able to send our men and women back home in a box, especially for something that really didn't have anything to do with us.
No
You know what I mean?
kidding.
Which kind of gives us a more of a thought that maybe it's time that we stop policing everybody else and actually go back to what was supposed to have been done at the beginning of the year, where they said we deal with America first.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Maybe we need to actually do that and stay out of people's business.
Yes. Yes, I 1,000% agree. I hope that we can eventually get somebody that will do that. You know, in the aspect of being a president. You know,
Right.
I hope that eventually we get somebody that truly is America first, America only ideology. I hope that happens.
So for everybody listening, like I said, if you know someone that's in the military, put a special prayer out to these men and women that they
Absolutely.
that they're able to do what they need to do, follow the objective, and be able to make it home safely. So, like I said, we're gonna keep our ear to the grind. We're gonna keep pulling up information on as we get it. We're gonna push it out. Those of you who not on the Facebook group, go on there. The Dominant Effect podcast on Facebook. We put a lot of information out on there throughout the week.
I'll pull it up right now.
Just go on there and check that out. If you're not a subscriber, just go on there and hit it. It's absolutely free. Just go on there and just click on it. Like I said, like, follow, share, subscribe, share this out. Like I said, a lot of stuff that we're putting out here. This is a lot of stuff that we've been talking about, though. I mean, like
it's
it's actually going on now, but there's a lot of stuff that we've already talked about months and months and months before then, that this is what was going to happen. Now, like I said, I hate on some of these stories, like we said, we hate to be writing these stories, but a lot of this stuff we actually called a long time ago.
Yep.
But other than that, I'll see you all in 7 days. Much love to you. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, thank you guys. We got Miss Lotus coming in with $5, by the way, saying thank you for another great show filled with so much valuable information. Thank you very much for that, Miss Lotus. Nothing but much love and respect to you. And Miss Lotus also sending another 5 spot, sending thank you, Mike. I very much appreciate you, Miss Lotus, and everybody here. Listen, God bless everyone. We'll talk to you guys here in 7 days. Much love, honor, respect to everybody, and we'll see you guys very soon. Much love.
Goodbye.